YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Some of you may have seen the video that I did on Rob Reiner's death, and I wanted to do a follow-up video on it. I talked about satanic ritual abuse, which often gets overlooked. Everybody just thinks in terms of pedophilia and these people in Hollywood lusting for young children, which of course is true, but they don't understand the ritual abuse aspect of it and how it's a vicious cycle which goes from generation to generation of actual abuse. And I talked in the video about how the child was showing lots of patterns of what would seem to be a child who was satanically a victim of satanic ritual abuse. And if you read a lot of the books on satanic ritual abuse, he showed a lot of the signs of it. And lots of doctors in the 70s and 80s had a lot of patients who actually exposed these types of things. Then they tried to cover it up with terminology like schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder, but really they were victims of satanic ritual abuse and had altars and these other things that were going on in their minds that the doctors were starting to understand and grasp. But of course, they created the satanic panic, as you see under some of my videos, probably even this one, where they'll put a Wikipedia page up trying to foo-foo it, trying to say, oh, this is just a conspiracy. There's no truth to any of that stuff. Yeah, just thousands of people have come forward, hundreds of thousands, who have broken free from the mind control programming, who have told people, even though they were programmed to never tell and threatened to never tell, it broke free. And actually, because of, interacting with people like Russ Dizdar, who have, they've gone to them as spiritual advisors, they've helped them break free from the mind control program that they're put under. And that was obviously something that I wanted to help people with when I initially started my channel. But over the years, I've been thrown around so much and had to create so many new channels that I can't even really get new followers at this point, as most of you see, even on these videos that most of you want to share. It doesn't allow me to share, which makes me say, what is even the point of doing it anymore? People can't share the actual content. But nonetheless, I was talking about satanic ritual abuse, and I wanted to show you something else from that roast that I showed you with Al Franken cracking jokes about Rob Reiner being a victim of abuse, from his father, being sexually abused as a child. Of course, we know they use humor as a way to deflect actual truth. And Billy Crystal is what I want to talk about here. Billy Crystal, of course, a member of the Synagogue of Satan. These people who have been put in these positions. I mean, Billy Crystal's a perfect example of being a member of the Synagogue of Satan. If you actually watch his stand-up or any of the stuff he's done, he is not even remotely funny or entertaining, but we've been told that Billy Crystal is, comedy legend, a comedy icon, right? And Billy Crystal, of course, happened to be seen at the home of Rob Reiner shortly after his death. The article's out there saying Billy Crystal seen at Rob Reiner's home hours after his longtime friend's death. Looked like he was about to cry. Billy Crystal and Albert Brooks, another member of the Synagogue of Satan, have openly talked about recently stepping up to look after Rob Reiner's children after parents' brutal murders. And of course, Billy Crystal has revealed himself, as they all do, through signs and symbols. Here is Billy Crystal doing the 666 all-seeing eye symbol, one of the most common ones that we see in these collages that are out there of all the celebrities who just conveniently happen to be doing this pose that none of us actually know what they're even doing, right? They're playing peekaboo with one another. We just see this and we're supposed to just dismiss it as if they're artistic or they're goofy, or they know how the brain processes this imagery that we don't think in terms of signs and symbols, but gangs do, right? And that's what we're dealing with here, a gang of Satanists, occultists, witches, you name it. That's what they're in, right? Covens. And they communicate through signs and symbols, and they know that we're not trained to see these things, but if you actually see patterns where you see all of them doing it at once, your brain starts to go, okay, right. Why is Bono doing that on a magazine cover? Why is Justin Timberlake? Why is Lady Gaga? Why is Katy Perry? You can name every single celebrity, and they're doing these poses on magazine covers or the red carpet, but they're deliberately doing it or posting it on their Instagram account from their own bedroom, right? Nobody says, what in the world are they doing? Here he is in the magazine cover, again, doing the 666 and the all-seeing hand sign. We've seen Billy Crystal do other symbols, of course. This is another way they try to reveal themselves, like, you know, putting their eye behind the camera lens and getting a photograph. Like, oh, he's making movies, Billy Crystal, right? That's just they do this with men and women different ways. Like women, they'll have their hair over one eye or a shadow over one eye on a magazine cover. I mean, they get cute with it because they know nobody's going to notice, and they know if people like me point it out, they'll just say that they're crazy. Oh, Billy Crystal's just looking through a camera lens, right? And of course, Billy Crystal has a new show, or a recently new show, called Before, which is on Apple TV. And this just happens to be the poster for the show where one of his eyes is getting peeled off, right? I'm sure this is an all-seeing eye symbolism. And again, Crystal's one of these Hollywood celebrities who, gets everybody divided into the left-right paradigm. And these guys are all friends with one another. I mean, it's very clear if you look back at Donald Trump. He used to be a Democrat. He was friends with all these guys. Now they're not friends, right? Trump's golfing with Bill Clinton. Or you got Bloomberg there. You got Rudy there, right? You got Billy Crystal there. Yeah, Rob Reiner will tell stories about how he met Donald Trump with Billy Crystal, and they couldn't have been more turned off by Donald Trump, and they hated him and all this stuff. But they're golfing together. He's golfing with him. And this is a skit from the roast of Rob Reiner, which, again, these humiliation rituals, these friar roasts that they do, this is a way for them to really tell the truth through what they call humor. I don't know how anybody finds any of this stuff actually funny. And if somebody's going to roast you, right? Like if you had a friend who was going to make fun of you, for example, and you're like, all right, make fun of me, right? We all poke fun at one another. Do you think somebody would, if, a regular person like me or you, someone's going to start cracking jokes about being a pedophile, picking up kids in a van, right? They would crack jokes about something they know about you, right? They'd be like, oh, well, we all know, so-and-so, was into this food or so, whatever. Some stupid little thing that you might have been into. So you had a bad haircut, or you dress like a fool, or you're overweight. Right? Your friends wouldn't just bust jokes about you, about how you pick up kids in vans. You would just go, well, I don't even get what the joke is. It would make no sense. A roast is like cracking jokes about you, the person that they know, the things that you've done, how you look. That's what it is by definition. So there's multiple things in this roast where they're referencing Rob Reiner as being abused as a child, as being very obsessed with children, etc. And you wouldn't just pull this out of thin air unless there was truth behind it. So here's Billy Crystal cracking jokes about, comparing him to Woody Allen, which of course we all know Woody Allen. Somehow the guy's not in jail, dated his own underage daughter, was sleeping with his daughter. Right? These guys just get it. The synagogue of Satan. No rules apply to them, but they all have one thing in common. Take a look at the noses, right? They pretend to be something that they're not. They claim to be a certain race, but they're not. Or certain, whatever you want to call it. They claim to be, but they're not. We all know how the Khazars roll. But here is Billy Crystal cracking jokes about Rob Reiner, again, being obsessed with little children.
And Rob has always been compared to the great directors, always. When he directed me and all the great cast in Harry and Sally, they compared him to Woody. When he did Misery, they compared it to Brian De Palma and Alfred Hitchcock. And when he began working closely with children, they compared him to Woody. But what I respect most about Rob is his deep, almost suspicious love for kids. And he freely gives them his time, his money, whatever it takes to get them into the van. But And
again, we're supposed to find humor in that, right? Humor about him picking up kids in a van. And you don't do the whole purpose of a roast is you roast things that somebody has done in the past, something that somebody has said, something you've done, that might have been embarrassing, the way you've looked, the way you might have dressed. Somebody, maybe, you were divorced, they make fun of your ex-wife, how you married that bimbo, or, those types of things. It's all based on truth. That's what a roast is. You can't roast if you went and roasted somebody that you never met, and they're like, roast this guy, you never met him, and Billy Crystal's like best friends with Rob Reiner. But say that he asked you to roast somebody you had no idea who they were. You would go, well, I need to learn about him. How am I going to roast him? I need to know something about him. You would just walk in the room and be like, he's screwing kids. He's picking them up in his van. Oh, the whole crowd would just be silent. You have to say, remember that movie that Rob Reiner made? That movie sucked. That's what a roast is, right? And for those of you that missed it, This wasn't the only reference to it during the roast. Al Franken, again, a horrible comedian that somehow is allowed in politics, who's talking the way he's talking in these clips I'm going to play for you. Here he is joking about how Rob Reiner was abused as a kid. They ran the town on him. His father let all these guys into his bed, etc. in Hollywood, and we're supposed to laugh at this stuff.
Most people don't know where this comes from, and Rob doesn't like to talk about it because he's kind of a modest guy, but it comes out of his own personal experience. See, as a baby, Rob was routinely beaten by his father, Carl. Rob believes that this early physical abuse had a profound effect on him as an adult. On a typical night, Carl would slip into Rob's bed, Jesus, roll him over, swab him down, and say something like, "I'm thinking about hiring Maury Amsterdam to play Buddy Sorrell. What do you think?" Well, the success of the Dick Van Dyke Show changed things dramatically. Carl started inviting many of his famous friends to son. And that list includes some of the greats in comedy. Paul Lynde. Dom DeLuise. Rip Taylor. Danny Kaye. Charles Nelson Riley and Rock Hudson, whom I frankly don't think was that funny.
So we know they have a sick sense of humor. It's pretty amazing that nobody has figured out the Synagogue of Satan yet and what they're really into, which is all the stuff that they reveal in their quote unquote roast. But that's Billy Crystal. That's Al Franken. Again, referencing these types of things. If you died tomorrow, unless you're a pedo who's listening to this video, there wouldn't be anything, oh yeah, so-and-so's picking up. They talk about these things because there's truth behind these things. They're not pulling them out of thin air. Okay? Rob Reiner, all of Hollywood is involved in this stuff, and it's generational. His father likely abused him. He likely abused his children. The connection with him, even that movie North that I mentioned, which had the adrenochrome rabbit right in the movie poster and the plot of it, about a kid leaving home because his parents were ignoring him, right? All these themes about children that these people seem to be obsessed with. And they're not obsessed with your kids, as they've shown you, because they care about kids and they're innocent. These are the same people in Hollywood that want your kids to bobatize themselves, right? Rob Reiner and all these people in Hollywood are telling you that your son picked up a Barbie doll off the floor at the age of 1, so he must be gay. He must be trans because he picked up a Barbie doll. Telling these kids that they should have the right to have their penises cut off, and their parents, if they don't allow them to do it, should be thrown in prison. So we know that these people do not care about children. They're psychopaths. And psychopaths like this obviously joke about the things that they do in secret. And that's what Billy Crystal's referencing. That's what Al Franken is referencing. Their obsession with children has nothing to do with caring about future generations and caring about what the world looks like. It's a cover for them. Just like I've talked about the Shriners and the Masons. Oh, they do all this work for the hospitals and the children's hospitals, right? He tells about the Shriners. Oh, how could this guy call for a number? He's talking about the Shriners. He's saying that they're bad people. They're trying to get kids' DNA and all this stuff. They're the one. Look what they're doing with the hospitals. I don't see that guy doing anything. For starters, you don't know what they're doing behind closed doors. If you were a pedophile, wouldn't you do something like that as a front? So people will go, he's not doing that. He gives all his money to kids. He coaches the kids' teams. These are the Boy Scouts. Well, you'd probably be suspicious now, but back in the day, you wouldn't be. And the Shriners do all that stuff on top of it, and you go, well, they still give money to the children's hospital. Oh, yeah? Why do all the kids in the hospitals have cancer at the age of 3? Why are all these kids dying at such a young age? Oh, these are the same people who are mandating vaccines and everything else that they're putting in our food, okay, to kill our kids and make our kids sick in the first place. So, it would make perfect sense for these people to play the part of caring about children when they're the ones who are involved in all these demonic, disgusting acts with them. So that's supposedly comedy, ladies and gentlemen, from Rob Reiner, from Billy Crystal, from Al Franken. Rob Reiner's getting a little bit of a kick out of it. You saw him wipe his forehead as well. He's like, boy, they're revealing a lot about me here, right? Yeah, probably so, because we know everybody in Hollywood is in on it. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.